Hi everypony, Bright Idea here, and welcome to a review for one of my favorite Halloween stories of all time, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, better known as The Tale of the Headless Horseman.
Yeah!
No, not the Headless Horse, you sillies. I decided to talk about this holiday classic after being surprised how few of my friends are actually familiar with the story I love so much. I mean, the song I covered from the 1949 Disney short about the Headless Horseman in my last video kinda gives the basic gist of the story, but there's more! Lots more! This centuries-old story of a superstitious schoolmaster, Ichabod Crane, and the mysterious entity known as the Headless Horseman is a tale adapted and retold many times in many different ways. It's kind of like Halloween's version of A Christmas Carol, only instead of a story of redemption, learning from the past, and loving your fellow man, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow is a ghost story through and through. Something to scare or delight your friends with and get lost in the sheer atmosphere and suspense. In this video, I'm not just going to talk about the story, I'm also going to review a few of my favorite adaptations and compare the differences between them, what makes them unique and enjoyable. That said, a little background on Washington Irving's classic. The Legend of Sleepy Hollow was originally published in 1820 as part of a collection of essays and short stories entitled The Sketchbook of Geoffrey Crayon, Gent, Irving's pen name at the time. The legend is set in 1790, not too long after the American Revolution, and the origin of the Headless Horseman myth comes from a Hessian who got his top knocked off by a wild cannonball. Hessian being a term which here means a German soldier who fought on the British side of the war. But enough about that. This story focuses on the character of Ichabod, a tall, lanky guy who looks like a scarecrow wandered out of its cornfield and has a soft spot for the supernatural, even if it scares him silly. We also meet his rival, Abraham Van Brunt, better known as Brom Bones, a tough guy with a penchant for pulling pranks, and Katrina Van Tassel, heir to a wealthy farmer and the coquettish object of both Icky and Brom's affections. They get invited to a harvest party at the Van Tassel estate. They feast and dance and tell many stories, including the Headless Horseman tale. It is said that the Hessian ghost wanders nightly to his old battleground, looking for his lost head, or someone else's to replace it. However, should the Headless Horseman cross the old church bridge, he vanishes in a flash of fire. Later that night, on his way back home from the party, riding through the deep dark woods, Ichabod Crane encounters the very same mysterious figure, and a panicked and perilous horse chase ensues. Next day, the only remains of the old teacher are his hat, saddle, and a smashed pumpkin. Ichabod Crane is never heard from again, except in rumors, and Brom Bones marries Katrina and presumably lives happily ever after. With that out of the way, let's take a look at the different versions of Legend of Sleepy Hollow in chronological order, starting with the Ub Iwerks short from 1934. As far as adaptations go, it's a short animation at 8.5 minutes, and it's pretty basic, mostly filler, with a dark climax. Literally, it's so dark I can't really see much of anything. The tone is pretty lighthearted and feels more like a collection of sight gags than a ghost story. The music is pretty nice, composed by Carl Stalling, known for his work arranging the musical scores for Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies shorts. Another thing I will say about this short is it's the only one I've seen that portrays slaves of the Van Tassel estate. Admittedly not a very sensitive portrayal, but it was the 30s, and that was the way black people were portrayed at the time. If you're into old animations, give this a look. Next, we have the amazing Disney version from 1949, narrated by the late great crooner Bing Crosby. Initially shown alongside an adaptation of The Wind in the Willows as The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, this version of the story is the first one that comes to mind whenever I think of the Headless Horseman. At 31 minutes, it has way more time to develop both the backstory and the characters, and there's actual dialogue rather than just pantomime and sight gags. The music really makes this short for me. Besides the Headless Horseman song, there are 2 other songs sung by Bing Crosby, and a sweet chorus. The atmosphere is rich, the animation is glorious, and no matter how many times I see it, there are moments that still make me laugh, especially the rivalry between Icky and Brom. But the best part of all is the dark, atmospheric, and spooky climax that gets me every single time. That evil laugh will haunt you forever! All in all, a classic that faithfully carries the spirit of the original story. Definitely put this on your Halloween to watch list. Last, a version of Sleepy Hollow I only found this year, produced in 1972 and shown in front of the animated movie Charlotte's Web in 1973. It was narrated by John Carradine, who apparently starred in a veritable plethora of horror films and westerns between the 30s and 80s. It's right between the lengths of the first two adaptations I've mentioned at 13 minutes, and the most prominent thing about this short is the art style. I mean, just look at those popping colors, and the incredible rough line work. And how about the design of Ichabod Crane? Now that's a lanky guy. All in all, this is a respectable version of the Headless Horseman story, and I highly recommend you check it out for yourself. Thanks for watching, Every Pony. Like this video, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe for more, wait for it, bright ideas. Until next time, have a safe and happy Halloween. And don't lose your head, like I did!